our seeding started in February here, so it's been actually going on for quite a while. When you get a bag of soil from the store, one of the things that's critical is to make it as uniform an environment as possible for your plants to grow so that you don't end up with all sorts of staggered sizes and growth patterns. And that means first getting the soil wet, and you want it basically wet enough so that if you give it a little squeeze it makes a snowball, but not so that water drips out your fingers. And then we just loosely fill these seed trays. What you don't want to do when you're filling a seed tray is to compact the soil in the tray. So a lot of times you will see people sort of push the soil in, and any time that soil is compacted, it's going to take an extra day for that little root to push its way through. So you really want to make the soil in these beds, or in these trays, pretty loose, get out some of the major air holes, but then we just sort of lightly spread soil through. Excellent. So once the seed tray is established, the instinct, of course, is to put a hole in it by pushing down. At the bottom of that hole, the soil is then compacted. So what we do instead is just hollow out a little hole so that it's not going to be too pushed underneath. And if you hollow out that hole, and I usually use my finger, depending on the seed, I'll use my finger as a guide by putting it sort of here so that I know the hole won't suddenly be 2 inches deep or whatever. And I just hollow it out. And if you want to take one and start working on a tray. We're going to plant Swiss chard. I plant it in clumps, which I find a little easier to harvest, so we're going to end up putting 3 or 4 seeds in every hole.
What do you mean?
That's okay. No, you can.
I plant 3 or 4 plants, right? Exactly.
You do that.
In a little. It makes it a little easier, I think, for weed control and everything else. Basil will end up growing, same thing, in a little clump. As you can see, this was a pinch of basil seeds. I find the seeding goes a lot faster if I'm not trying to look and get one seed every hole. It's just a pinch in every one. We do a certain amount of seed saving here as well, which for a home garden, I would really recommend. Heirloom seeds and all bean seeds are open pollinated. So you can save the seeds off of them. I think I have seeds essentially. I mean, occasionally you can find one that's called an F1, and if it says F1 in the catalog, then it's a hybrid and it won't save. But most beans are open pollinated, meaning you can save all the seeds. So let's just fast forward in time. We've watered our seeds diligently every day for 3 weeks, and now they look like this. I let those seeds dry out pretty well, and then I drench them down wet. And then I dry out pretty well, and I drench them down wet. I find that keeping things always moist, for me, means that I'm going to end up with a fungus issue in my plants. So I let them really kind of flag, and then I perk them up. If you imagine a plant outdoors, it's not going to get rained on a little bit every day. It gets rained on once every week, a big drenching rain, to sort of simulate that.